Plan, Make, Play. Today we're making an apron from a vintage pillowcase. As you can see, this one is very dingy and has obviously been in someone's closet for a very long time, but we'll do our best to bring it back to life. Now I soaked it for an hour in hot water and just a little bit of dish soap, then ran that for a rinse cycle. Then I soaked it for 2 hours in OxiClean, did another rinse cycle, washed it as normal, and then left it in the sun for an afternoon because I completely forgot about it. But it worked beautifully. Now you can actually see the stains that are in it. But that's okay because this is going to be a working apron. I'm going to be cooking in this and wiping my hands on it. So that's fine, but I am very, very happy with how well it came out. So for anyone interested in the details of the pillowcase, this is the tag. It is a Wamsuta Super Kale Plus pillowcase. It's a standard size 20 by 32. Since this pillowcase is already 20 inches wide, I only need to measure for length. So I measured up 18 inches from the bottom for the skirt, and then I measured down 5 inches from the top for the waistband, and the remaining center portion I divided in half for the 2 ties. So that made each of the ties 4.5 inches worth of fabric. Then after I cut it, I seam ripped the skirt portion and the tie portions, but not the top waistband portion. I left that together. So for some background on the pillowcase, if you're curious, the pattern is called Delft Vine and was released around 1983. Wamsuta Mills was founded in 1846 in New Bedford, Massachusetts, not too far from where I was born. And they are named after a Native American chief from the 1600s. He's actually pretty interesting. He wasn't treated so great, but he's worth a Google if you're interested in early American history or Native American history. So. By the 1980s, most of their production was in South Carolina, so that's probably where this was made. Unfortunately, I do not have footage for the next part. So for each strap, I folded it in half, right sides together, and sewed it to make a giant tube. I did sew the ends. I sewed one end on each at an angle from the top hem down to the corner to make a nice tapered end to the tie. Then I then I turned them right side out and sewed them with, I'm not sure what it's called because I'm not a professional seamstress or anything, but a box with an X to the back of the waistband. And I made sure to leave enough space below it so that I could sew in the skirt. So I made sure that the top seam of the waistband was at the top, and then the ties were slightly below that, and then the bottom was open to allow me to sew in the skirt. And then the skirt, I just sewed a long basting stitch across the top of that and used that to gather it so that it was the same width as the waistband. So 20 inches instead of 40 inches. And from there I just inserted it into the waistband, made sure it was all gathered appropriately, and sewed the two together. And that was pretty much it. I backstitch at the beginning and end to make sure it doesn't unravel, and then we had a finished apron. And here we have the finished apron. The length came out just where I wanted it, right above my knee. The ties are nice and long, so if you measure them out correctly, unlike what I did, you can get a nice, droopy, pretty bow in the back, which I love. The waistband is a little wider than I would have preferred, but that's not a big deal. I do wish it came a little farther back on the sides, but that's just a function of how wide the pillowcase was in the beginning. Not a huge deal. I'd love to add pockets, but unfortunately I don't think the material is strong enough to support it without some kind of interfacing, which I don't know how to do. It does pass the swish test, which is nice. So overall, it's not bad for a first attempt. I will definitely be trying more in the future. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.